Welcome to Craving More, a CrossFit Crave podcast where we find motivation through obstacles, resistance, and everyday life.
All right. DJ, welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome back to Craving More with your co-host.
Happy birthday, Debbie.
Thanks,
Happy
CJ.
birthday.
Matt and CJ.
It is Debbie's. How old are you, Debbie?
26.
26. She hasn't left.
She's proud of her birthday.
She looks 26. Look at her.
She's proud of
Yep.
it.
I'm 44.
44. Proud.
Just a couple years.
Just a couple.
I don't think I would have guessed that, honestly.
I paid you. Good job.
Where's the check, dang it?
I would have guessed it.
Coming in the mail.
Birthday, yeah. I mean, what year?
That is a good question. I think people were born in the 2000s is weird.
Easy.
She did fail one thing, though, today.
Doing her birthday.
What? Oh, yeah, true.
We had to do our birthday
She
birthdays
did
at
not
5
get her
a.m.
birthdays in.
Mm-mm.
And I apologize to you viewers on the screen. You can't smell it, but you can. My knee sleeves, I don't have them on, but
Oh, I was like, why do you sound... Matt, you should take those off.
So now you still smell it?
yeah.
Took them off?
Mm,
I can't smell it.
thank you.
I smell it from here. I'm 3 hours away.
Okay. Hey, so this is part 2, episode 2 of the first part of Expanding Your Business. Right? First part, we kind of dove into how it started, where it started from, and talked a little bit about the program, the structure of the program. Probably review just a tad bit. We do have a PowerPoint presentation that I don't have a copy of yet, but we saw probably 99% finished. Looks really, really good. That describes the program in whole. Talks a little bit about who we are at CrossFit Crave, and where we're going. So, what do you guys think of the last update, last podcast? Any thoughts?
I think it's pretty great. It was pretty, it definitely opened up parts that I didn't know fully about all of what we're doing with Expanding Horizons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good. It's crazy how... Well, I said this at the end of the last one, but it's crazy how much, like, information there is on it, you know? Or how much it's, like, grown and everything, too. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think let's review some of the data that we have on Expanding Horizons for kids since the start of the program. And then I think you have most of that memorized, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk about not how it started necessarily, but how it's funded.
Okay.
We'll dive into that. And then we'll talk through what happened a month ago, which was really cool. And then we'll talk about what's going to happen. There's 2 things that are really cool coming up. One, that'll happen this weekend on Saturday, and then 2, that'll happen on October 15th. So let's go back to the beginning of the program. It was in 2018. We're in our 4th year. Is that right? Yeah. It was beginning of 2018 in summer.
Right, summer of 2018,
Mm-hmm.
when it started, then everybody came over at the school year of the 2018-2019 school year.
Exactly. More in the 2022. It's almost 2022. You're getting old. All right. So since then, do you want to run through I know some of the numbers by heart. I know you know by heart. I know since 2018, we've had 57 kids come through the program.
Yes.
57 kids that were court ordered to come through. So that's probably the biggest key to kind of kick this conversation off. The Expanding Horizons group in itself is full of kids that have committed some type of, I don't necessarily say crime, but are on probation for a reason.
Offense.
Right? They've had some type of an offense. Some of it can be as simple as continued truancy, just not going to school for whatever reason. And some of it, is because of assault, and some of it because of drug abuse. And so there's a lot of reasons some of the kids come to us or come to or find themselves on probation in Mercer County or any county for that matter in the state or the nation. We have had 57 of those juveniles come through the CrossFit program. And you may say, well, 57 kids in 4 years, that's only been in probation. That's not too bad for Mercer County. We don't get all of the kids.
Right.
The kids are vetted through the probation department and through counseling to say, okay, what are their needs at this point? And the reason we don't get some of the kids is because of, some of them from a physical perspective. Like there's one individual that we may receive that, has a high functioning, I don't say Asperger's. Mm-hmm. That's what the individual has. We don't have him yet, but that's a part of it. And they've just diagnosed that, and he's in mid-teens. They're finding, okay, so here's why he's acting out the way he does, and we need to counsel that first, and then allow him to come to the Expanding Horizons program.
Right.
There's another one that comes to mind that has an aggression problem, and right now, until he's counseled, taking direction is probably not high up on his list of things that he wants to do.
Right.
Right. So he would get very physical, for example, like if we're in a coaching situation, it's a high stress situation. If you think about the workout and you're stressing your body and your mind anyway, and then you have a coach come alongside and say, hey, I need you to get lower in that squat. You're like, well, I'll show you a squat. So the kids, we don't get all the kids that come through probation because of some of those reasons. Right. So go ahead.
So we've had 57 kids who participated in the program so far. All of them come to us along with going to counseling.
That's right.
So that's part of, we didn't start out having it as part of a requirement, but it's just kind of a no-brainer that we feel like that they need to participate in both.
Yep.
I'm sorry, let me take that back. 100% of them are court-ordered. 82% of them are involved in mental counseling. Right. So not all of them go. So there's some who might have, their offense may not be considered as bad as something else. Yeah. And so the court decided to intervene now before the kid puts themselves at risk even more. So they may not deem the counseling necessary at that point. Of the kids that we've had, 18% of them do not live in a traditional parental situation. So they might live in foster care, they might live in a placement, something like that. Also, of the kids, once they graduate out of probation, they are tracked for 1 year with the court system, just to kind of see where they go from here. And our rate is at 1 year, 75% of the kids who have participated in our program do not reoffend at 1 year. Where typically, and I just had dinner with a former addictions counselor, typically that rate is the opposite. Without interventions such as CrossFit and the mental health counseling, at 1 year, you're going to have 75 to 80% reoffend.
And that's what we talk about what's coming with the state of Ohio and whatnot. I don't want to jump ahead, but that's, I think, what got the attention of some of the individuals that are now looking at the program is, what's going on in Mercer County? Because that rate, that revicidity rate, is unheard of. Hopefully, you guys did your homework on revicidity from our last podcast. Check that one out.
Did you do your homework, Matt?
What's that?
Did you do your homework?
What was my homework?
seeing if it was actually a word, or if you were saying right.
Oh,
It
it's a
is.
word. It's a word.
I looked it up.
100%.
Last time you were like, I don't know if that's the right word or if I'm saying that right, but.
It's what word. So, go ahead.
We're one of very few programs of our kind, but the fact that it's data driven is unheard of. So our probation officers did it right from the beginning.
Yeah, right from the beginning. And all of the credit for the success of the program and the data that's there is due to Angie Gale and Jim Contreras and Craig, the probation officers that have been in the program. And Angie Gale's the head of that group. She's the one that wrote the grant and so on and so forth. So it's court ordered and it's paid for by the county through the state. And the way that works is Angie had to write a grant for what's called reclaim money. So reclaim money comes to the county, and each county gets a separate set aside group of money. It's called reclaim money that they can utilize at their dispense. They choose what programs they use the reclaim money for, right? And that reclaim money is basically available for, call it, trying to keep these kids from going to JDC, to the prison. Right? Prevention, right? So we're trying to move or prevent an individual from getting in trouble and then sending them to juvenile prison. That's what it is, JDC. So if you can prevent that, if you can try to take that individual and counsel them and correct their ways and not send them, that's a benefit to the state because it doesn't cost the state as much money. So the county gets the reclaim money. It says, hey, because you're avoiding, detention, we're going to give you a portion of that money that we would have had to pay to house that individual. So it's called reclaim. So you're reclaiming that money. And then each county says, okay, what do I do with this reclaimed money? What Angie went ahead and did and says, I'm going to write a grant to use the reclaimed money for really 2, maybe 3 things. One of those is CrossFit. Another one is counseling. Mm-hmm. And there's some other projects, Ripple Effect. There's some other projects that are using that reclaimed money for. So that's how it is funded. It's funded through the county. We get a check from the county auditor every month. It's agreed upon rate between CrossFit Crave and the county. So we sat down and said, okay, what's that rate look like? How many kids are we going to have? And we based it on our teen rate. So we have not a teen rate necessarily. We have a student rate. A student of any age. You could be an adult going back to college and you'd get that rate too. So our student rate, and we're in rural Mercer County, is $60. Now, some of you guys are going to listen to this across, other CrossFit boxes are like, $60, you crazy? Like, we're $120 for our students. We're in a small farm community, and there's not, I've learned that our county is actually, from a funding perspective, the medial salary in the county is probably stands up there with most of the counties across the state. Not too bad. But we're in a very conservative county, and, they're not going to spend a ton of money coming to CrossFit. So that's where we price our student rate at.
Right. And we're in Salina, which is the county seat.
Yeah.
And because we're county seat and there's more programs available for help for families who need it, we tend to have a little bit of a lower socioeconomic
No question about it.
area. So our Salina is lower in that average yearly salary versus the rest of the county, significantly.
Yeah, by a tremendous amount. Yeah, it's pretty staggering. So we said, okay, how many kids are we going to have? Well, it ranges. Every day it ranges. The kids that are court ordered, if school comes first, if they're in a sport, they're in some type of a curricular activity involved with the school, that's primary. So they go to that. If they're in counseling, that's primary. So they go to that. Some of them have jobs. So if they work during that time, that's required. And if they don't have any time in that 3 o'clock time frame, that's when they're coming, then they are mandatory. They have to be here. They can't just hang out at home. They can't just, they have to come. So one day may come in, there's 5. And the next day they come in, there might be 14 or 15, along with the probation officer. So what we agreed upon is 14 students at that $60 rate per month. And whether they come in 4 plus the 3 probation officers or 15, doesn't matter. It's the same price. And that's what we bill monthly, and that comes in 12 months a year. And that's kind of how it's funded by the state.
Originally, it wasn't for 12 months. Originally, it was just during the school year.
That's right.
So I believe that's based off of where they were at before.
Agreed.
They only came through the school year. And so when we got to the end of the first school year here, in conversation with the probation officers, it was agreed upon it wasn't conducive for either the probation officers or the kids to take the summer off. Number one, they're going to lose strength and they're going to lose endurance, but also they're going to lose the bonding and they're going to lose the mental capacity that they had built up to cope with life, with all the life skills that we go over here.
No question.
And so we brought them on the summer, just stay. Like, that's it, just stay.
Yeah.
And so after that, then they rewrote the grant to include 12 months.
Yeah, to include it all. They're like, hey, this program is changing the lives of these kids, and it's worthwhile, and we want to make sure that you get justification for it. So they paid us. Now they're paying us, for all 12 months, which is great. I think the word that Angie used is, we don't want to lose our fitness.
Right.
Like, we can't quit. We'll lose our fitness. We don't want to do that. And what I really think she meant is she didn't want to come back at the end of the summer and be sore for another month.
Right. Start over.
We all know how that is, right? So that's kind of the data and the background behind Expanding Horizons with, how do we run the class? How do we, how is it paid for? How is it funded? How do we get the kids? It's not voluntary for sure. It's court mandated. And the other thing I think is very important to talk about is the probation officers have to work out with the kids. So when the probation officers come in, they turn their badges over. Not literally, but we become responsible for them and the kids. So it's not, they're not there to police, so to speak. They're there to be an athlete. And I think that breaks the boundaries between probation officers and the kids, and it levels the playing field a little bit.
We also have the class right after school, so that way the probation officers can pick the kids up from school and transportation isn't an issue. And the other thing is it's generally a closed class because we need to get those kids acclimated to our environment, to each other, to working on partners and teams and things like that. So we don't have that open to our general population. We do have a few select of our general population athletes who we allow to come to that class with the understanding that, number one, you're equal. I mean, we're community equality, consistency, but also, number two, you're serving as a mentor for these kids. So you're here to also form a relationship with them inside and outside our four walls, just like any of our athletes.
That's right. And that's important.
Huge.
So that's kind of a little bit about what's been happening for the last 3 years. And there's a lot of individual stories. CJ, did you have anything you wanted to, because you were a part of the program kind of early on.
Right. Well, I guess real quick, so Debbie, you mentioned the transportation. Obviously that's really good, right, during the school year when they can meet at the school, right, and have someone pick them up. But maybe you could, I guess this is tribute to Jen and Angie and everyone else there, but how did that work during the summer, when they didn't have school anymore?
If the kids are able to, they can provide, if they have their driver's license and they haven't been suspended, or anything like that, they are allowed to drive themselves. If transportation is an issue, then the probation officers use a county vehicle and go pick them up.
Yeah. So that's a great question. Here's the difference. When school's out, probation doesn't go out.
Right.
Right. So everything that the probation staff has to do during the normal school year, they continue to do with the kids through the summer. And that's why the summer program was vital in the very beginning, because they lose that connection, not necessarily all of the connection, but they don't spend as much time with them.
Right.
Because, now they're kind of on their own reconnaissance. The kids are, they can pretty much come and go because they're not scheduled to go to school and that type of thing. So there is still some consistency because the kids have to show up through the summer, right? And we moved their time frame a little bit. We went to 2:30 this year in the afternoon, but they know that, okay, I can goof off for most of the day, but I have to be at CrossFit at 2:30. And that's, so that gives that what school had for them, that consistency of planning every day, it gives them that consistency.
Provides structure for them, because that's
Yeah.
one of the things that they've told us that they struggle with.
Mhm.
If I'm on my own free reign, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, with whoever I want.
Mhm.
That's the reason I'm on probation.
Right.
So this provides structure, and that needs to happen 12 months out of the year.
That's right.
And I think it's a very good idea to keep it still at that 2:30 or 3 mark. Because I mean, if you make it in the morning, they still have the rest of the day to do whatever,
And the first where we had it in the morning,
Mhm.
and at the same time, 2 days a week, we had football coming at this. So we had the kids in the probation kids in one area of the gym, and the football team in another area of the gym. But you already have these kids who feel labeled, singled out,
Right.
the bad kid, and now they're all together in a club, and here's the football team.
And each one of the kids comes with their own trauma, their own personal trauma. That's part of the reason why they're on probation. In just the extra noise, so to speak. And noise doesn't have to be the noise you hear, just the noise, the busyness of people around and throwing barbells. And now instead of the 6 or 7 people I'm used to working out with, now there's 25 people. And that, so they start building the walls, and they start, the mental part of their brain's not developed, right? We learned that from Dr. Aaron, right? And they don't know how to calm themselves down, and it just anxiety steps in, and they really shut down. So I think it's important to make sure that consistent time is their time.
Right.
If other athletes come in, to select athletes,
right,
that understand why they're there.
And that's one of the things that we've had to learn as we go is you eliminate every obstacle you can before it happens for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to teach them how to overcome their own obstacles. But until they can get to that point that they're ready to work on it, it's our job to foster an environment that's obstacle free for them.
That's right.
And I think that's really great too. I think that speaks volume to you guys too, noticing that, So the program's been pretty much the same, but there's always excuse me, moving parts and stuff you're trying to improve the program, So if this doesn't work, just adapt, or you notice something hey, this might not be quite right. If you're able to switch that, or like you said, to keep the routine,
Mm-hmm.
I think that speaks volume about you guys too, changing that to make it the best environment for them.
For sure. And we've had, there's numerous success stories of the kids that have come through the program and been able to kind of give back and move on and get jobs and be prosperous. And that's really cool. There's going, and I don't want to spoil it for the CrossFit world, but there's I think 1 or 2, maybe 3 that are going to be able to share their story here real soon that will literally be shared across CrossFit in every country and every globe, that every area that CrossFit reaches, which is going to be really kind of cool for them and for us, quite frankly, because I think they attest where they're at today truly based on probation and CrossFit, and I think it's a really cool story. So I won't ruin that. What's happened in the last couple of months really has kind of been life changing for us, at least for from ownership, and then certainly for the kids. So this process started about a year ago, right at the onset of COVID. Jen Contreras and her husband, her husband's not a part of the probation department, but he's very active in the kids' life. They've been active. She's been a probation officer in Dayton. They were active down there as well. And so John is his name. So John reached out, unbeknownst to us, to CrossFit home office and said, hey, we want to tell you about a program that we run here with your local CrossFit Crave, and it's outstanding. And we just want to make sure that the members of CrossFit Crave and the ownership of CrossFit Crave understand what a great job they're doing. So they kicked this meeting off. We had no idea there was a conference call. So they scheduled a conference call. And then they called us afterwards and said, hey, we just got off the phone with Chuck. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. Chuck Chuck Carswell. We talked to Chuck about the scholarship program. And I'm like, what timeout? Hang on. Like Chuck Carswell from CrossFit? Like Chuck? I'm like, yeah. We just had an hour-long conversation with him. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, uh-oh. Like, what did I do? What did we do? Like, sorry, did we screw up?
Right.
And they're like, no, we wanted to see if they would bring the scholarship, the CrossFit Scholarship L1 to Salina, to CrossFit Crave. And I'm like, oh. I said, I'm like, okay. And then my first thought was, well, that was nice, guys, but
Not going to happen.
not going to happen. I mean, come on. We're a small box in the middle of nowhere. They got way bigger fish to fry. So that's how the first 5 seconds of the call went. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Okay, that's nice. And they're like, yeah, they're in. They're going to do it. And then my jaw, I'm like, what? And I called, after I got off the phone, after I picked my jaw back up and my heart back in, I called these guys and I'm like, guess what? So COVID slowed that process down, which was disappointing. They wanted to do it last year, but with all the restrictions and travel and everything, they just couldn't do it. But they never lost sight of it, which is super cool. After an entire year, they came through the winter and said, hey, we've got a date, we're going to do it. And it's going to be there August 24th or July 24th.
Yeah, we had a busy 3 weeks.
Yeah, we had a busy 3 weeks that week. And that weekend came, and here comes Michelle Moots and Lindsay and Larry, and we had a full-fledged L1 for 50, was it 12 or 15? 12. 12 of our kids that are through the probation department, which is phenomenal. It's life-changing for them.
Right.
Were you going to say something? Add anything
Well,
to that?
so the L1 was ran just like your traditional L1 without the test at the end. And what they allowed was they allowed their probation officers to hand select 12 kids who they thought would be able to be good recipients of the scholarships. And these were kids who were current and past probation kids. So some of them had graduated out of the program and still came back. And honestly, I don't think the kids knew what they were getting into until they showed up that day.
Right.
Like some of them were like, I'd been doing everything I was supposed to. And then Craig, who was my probation officer, showed up at my doorstep and I panicked because I didn't know why he was there.
Yeah.
I thought, what'd I do wrong? And he said, here, sign this paper, come to CrossFit on this day. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they got there and they met Michelle and Lindsay and Larry and found out, they were like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, good question. So through that process, we met before the class started with Michelle. She kind of pulled us to the backside of the gym and like, hey, can you give us some background? So we started talking about the background of the kids and why they're there and where they come from and some of the hardships that they come through. And they connected on a level like no other. And it was so cool to see. It was the cool. I think the coolest part for me from the affiliate perspective was when CrossFit, when they started talking to us about scheduling it, sending the books that we needed and, hey, can you set up the room and all of that stuff. I'm like, yeah, hey, what do you need us to do? And she's like, well, here's what we need you to do. When we show up, we take over. And we want you to sit back and have fun. Because
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. And it was like, we want you to be able to relax, enjoy the weekend, and let us do the work. I'm like, okay.
And so we did.
And that's what we did. And they front to back, they ran it all weekend, which was really cool. I didn't know this until that day, actually Saturday morning. I wanted to know what happens now. So they go through the L1 and they take a class. And then what? If they want to go for their certification, and we sign them up and we pay for them to go through the certification. And I had no idea what the next step was. And she's like, oh no, any one of these 12 that are here will have their names recorded. When they turn 17, they had to be 17. They can take the L1 seminar at CrossFit's expense. And that floored me. I'm like, okay, that's a big deal. Because going through the seminar, the scholarship seminar, gives them a taste of, this is what you could do. This could be, you could make a living doing this. You could go coach somewhere and get paid for it. You could open your own affiliate. Once you get that affiliate license, you can take this and go somewhere with it. And not only are we going to give you the scholarship to kind of get you fired up about it, we're also going to pay for you to take your L1 when you're ready and when you're of age. And that is huge.
Right.
Hugely successful. It's really, really cool. So since that weekend, we were contacted by Home Office to write an article. They wanted to know, they heard a tremendous amount of good feedback on the program. And I think Michelle and Chuck and that group were looking, I hope I don't want to put words in their mouth, but at least what they shared with us during that weekend is they're looking for something they can repeat.
Right.
Meaning, right? Is that basically
Right.
what they said? Like, they want to find us a program that they can repeat the scholarship to, right? The nice thing about our program is these kids kind of rotate out. They're there maybe 6 months to a year, and then there's another set of kids. Now, I say that's nice. They rotate out, and we know the refacidity rate is 75%, so they don't come back. The bad part about that is, guess what? There's still bad stuff that's happened in
Right.
the community, and there's a new set of kids that come in. So it's a revolving door. It's a revolving window of kids that come and go. And I think CrossFit sees this program as, we can revisit this next year, affect 12 different people's lives, and that can continue to go, right? How can we continue to make change?
Right.
Right.
They didn't want a one-time program.
Yeah. They wanted to be able to repeat. Come somewhere where it's consistent, where they can repeat that, that's cool. So CrossFit did a really nice article that was released 3 weeks ago now.
It's probably around a month right now.
Yeah. On CrossFit.com about the L1 seminar, what we do with our program, which was great. And if that's where the story stopped, that would be tremendous in itself, right? From affiliate owners' perspective, you always kind of want, and this is probably selfish of us, but it's reality. You always kind of want something that you can share with the world from a CrossFit perspective. Like, do I have a story? Do I have a success story of, do I have somebody that's lost 100 pounds? Do I have a paraplegic now that can do things? You always want that story to say, hey, look at how we're affecting lives in our community. Because at the end of the day, you go get your L1 and you own an affiliate, not because you're going to get rich. That's not how it works.
I thought it was.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Sorry.
You get your L1 and you own it, and you start your affiliate because you want to change lives, and we're truly changing lives. So to get to that level of having an article produced by CrossFit, and then it goes across all of the media outlets, email and .com and Instagram and Facebook, you're like, okay,
Overwhelming.
yeah. You're like, your 15 seconds of fame. There it is. Look at our kids go. Super exciting. That's not where it stops.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So from there, it developed with Andy Wilson. He gave us a call. Actually, he talked with Angie, the head probation officer, and he told us he wanted to give us a call. His title was the Senior Advisor for the Criminal Justice Policy for the State of Ohio. That's the only reason you wanted me to talk about
Could you repeat that one more time?
Is the Senior Advisor for the Criminal Justice Policy for the State of Ohio.
Working directly
For Governor Mike DeWine. So he gave us a call and he said, hey, I want to know more about your program because I'm a CrossFitter and I think it would be cool to implement at my gym. So we start talking about it and he goes, oh, by the way, this is my title, and because you are influencing the mental and emotional well-being of these youth, there are more dollars available than what you guys are even thinking about.
Yeah.
He said, I want to help you. I want to volunteer and write grants for you. Oh, and I've told my friends.
Yes. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
So first, like, I had no idea. His wife is a phenomenal person. She's my doctor. And I had no idea the connection. So Dr. Libby Wilson.
Who's originally from Salina.
Who's from Salina. Libby Proch. Graduated with my wife in 90.
Oh, you better not say Jen.
You better not.
Oops, sorry, Jim. Wrong. And she's been my doctor for a year and a half, and we've got a great relationship. We talk all the time.
Podcast guest.
Yeah, she's a
She
podcast
podcasts.
guest, right? And her husband is, what's his title?
Senior advisor for the criminal justice policy for the state of
Had
Ohio.
no idea. I knew Andy, just didn't know like what it did.
Yeah.
And so he calls. He's like, "Hey, you're I've talked with your county, and man, you guys got something that's on fire, and you're only tapping into DYS money, Division
Right.
of Youth Services money, and that's where the reclaim money is coming from. The grant is coming from." And he goes, "You're missing the ability to tap into the mental health services. There's funding there that's available.
Okay.
So here's what's going to happen, Matt. We want to schedule a visit." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, great. Come on in. We want to work out with the kids. And oh, by the way, here's all of the directors in the state of Ohio that want to come." There's like 6 directors, different divisions of the state of Ohio. And then he's like, "Yeah," and he goes, "So you also talked to us about Aaron Brill and Redemption Road CrossFit, which is the prison program, Redemption Road Fitness Foundation's prison program in the state of Colorado. And our director of prisons here knows their director of prisons really well. And by the way, they reached out and said, hey, when Eric Rosa was at the prison system a month and a half ago with Aaron, they brought up CrossFit Crave, the owners of CrossFit Crave by name, and talked about our program with the state of Colorado, and they're interested in your program as well." And
Okay, Ian, turn to the camera
Yeah.
right now and show everybody how big your eyes
Yeah.
are. He just went, I didn't know that.
yeah, and oh, by the way, we would like your help in looking at how to duplicate what they're doing in the state of Colorado prisons in the state of Ohio prisons. And I'm speechless. I'm just taking notes. You were like I couldn't write fast enough. Like I had no idea where to go with this. So he goes, "You're doing a great job, man, and we really want to help you. And we want to pilot your program in another CrossFit box, and we think we know where that's at. We want to go to Long Road CrossFit in Urbana, and we've identified Lima, the prison, as maybe the location we want to pilot this. And I'm still trying to figure out like what day it is. It's crazy.
What's my name again?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm already-
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What's CrossFit? So all of this information you're trying to process, at the same time. So I don't. I'd have to go back through the emails. I don't even know how the rest of this started. But anyway, we from that conversation sent an email because CrossFit Home Office was interested also in the program. They took interest in it, right, to find more information out about it.
Right.
So we wrote an email to the Home Office, not really expecting much information back. We just wanted to share that, hey, guess what? We appreciate what you've done from the scholarship program that really got the state of Ohio fired up. They learned more information about the program. We just wanted to share that the state is coming to Salina to hang out with the kids and review the program. And then stuff started happening. Mr. Rosa responded to the email and said, hey, great, I want to come. Tell me when it is.
Set it up.
So I'm like, oh, okay, what do we do now? So we had to pick a date. We went back and forth with dates to make sure that it was right for that Eric, Mr. Rosa could come and all of the individuals from the state of Ohio could come. So on the 14th, which would be after the release of this podcast.
Of October.
Yeah, 14th of October. It's a Thursday. We'll have CrossFit Home Office here. Eric Rosa, Gary Gaines, who is the GM International Affiliate Affairs, Danielle Hale, Dale King, who is our District 9 Director, our District 9 Lead, Field Lead. Danielle is Director of Communications.
I think so.
For CrossFit. CrossFit Media will be along. I'm not sure if anyone else from CrossFit will come or not. Austin Maliola was on one of our conference calls that we had, setting up the call or setting up the visit. I'm not sure if he'll be there. And then Andy from the state of Ohio. And just a laundry list. You have the list. We don't have to name them all. Just a laundry list of officials from the state. And then this afternoon, was it this afternoon?
Yep.
This afternoon, we get a phone call from Andy, and he's like, "Hey, man," he goes, "I just want to let you know that Lieutenant Governor John Husted called me today, and he's coming to CrossFit." I'm like, "Okay," and he goes, "So I gotta let you know what this entails. They come with a media trail, so you'll have Dayton, you'll have Lyman, you'll have Columbus, they'll have their media sources all be there. So there'll be going to be a pretty large media trail that's going to show up too, and then along with CrossFit's media, local media from here."
And he says, "Is that okay?"
Yeah, is that okay? Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah. This whole time you're like, sure. I don't know. What am I supposed to say? So that's what's happening. And the goal of the 14th truly is to say, hey, it's not Debbie or I's doing. It's the community that's surrounded CrossFit. And realistically, I think you can find that same community in any CrossFit box you go to, that has helped these kids understand how to survive, given them a hand, not a hand out, but a hand up, right? To rise out of the situation that they're in today. And the data is there that says, hey, this is successful. If we give these kids counseling and we put these kids through CrossFit, they change mentally and physically. And we want to continue to do that. And we'd like to do that in every county in the state of Ohio. No, by the way, maybe we'll do it in our prisons program. And gosh, why can't we take this across the country?
Right. So the goal is really to let the kids say, I'm a success, and these are the things that contributed to that.
That's right.
I came from whatever trauma, horrible situation. And again, they know that they can tell their whole story. They don't have to tell anything. It's whatever they're comfortable with. This is where I'm at today, and these are the steps that got me there. Just like Steve was talking. Here's the big macro picture now, and here are the micro steps that help me get to this current destination that I'm at on my journey that's going to keep going.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we are changing, and some of the stories that you'll hear out of the 14th, generational changes.
Breaking generational cycles.
That's right. Of abuse and direction and poverty and alcoholism, and it's life-changing. So.
And we talked about it with the kids this weekend. Like, everybody has their bubble that they grew up in, and everybody's bubble is dysfunctional at some point. This course and this course of action with these kids is giving them a chance of a different kind of bubble. And to be able to go into a kid who's in a situation where nobody has an ideal situation. Theirs is way less than ideal, and say, hey, we know you have all of these things going on. Figure it out. Be successful. We can't expect them to do that until we give them a better bubble to come into and a better place to belong. They said this weekend, I always wonder what it would be like to talk to this person, and now I'm part of their bubble.
That's right. Yeah, that's incredible. So that's kind of second phase of where we're at.
And then,
what now? What next?
Now you have this weekend too.
Yeah. So, geez, we have this Saturday. We have District 9's affiliate summit. That's the first one of its kind. Not first one for our district. There's been other districts have had summits here in the last couple of weekends that I've saw pictures of and heard good things of. But District 9, the district that Ohio's in, is having their summit on tomorrow at Road.
Saturday.
Or Saturday. What is today? See, I'm lost.
Today's Wednesday.
That's your birthday. Today's Wednesday. On this Saturday. So this Saturday, 75 affiliates, I think, were invited. 2 weeks ago, it was like, hey, Matt, would you, actually, maybe a month ago, it was like, hey, would you, just stand up and speak to the program a little bit? And then 2 weeks ago, it was like, hey, can we carved out an hour? You need to demonstrate, you need to show your program. So we're going to deliver Expanding Horizons. We've got a nice PowerPoint put together by Steve Harris. Did a phenomenal job with the PowerPoint, and hopefully I can pull it off. I'm going to speak to the group 2:30 on Saturday for an hour, and I just hope I can do justice to the program and to our affiliate here and all the coaches. We'll see. I'll humble my way through it, I think. So that's happening this Saturday. So this Saturday is the first show, so to speak, and then the 14th, there's 20, 25 people that show up.
Mm-hmm. So going back to that real quick, the way that's going to play out the 14th
Mm-hmm.
is this entourage of list that grows daily.
Mm-hmm.
It
Will
might
be
grow more after Saturday.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
So they're all going to come. We're going to sit down and have an informational, session. And then at 3:00, all of those, or the majority of those in attendance,
Mm-hmm.
get their gear, and it's time to work out with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we get pretty possessive, our kids.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Our kids, between now and then, are going to write the workout with the help of the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And then our staff of coaches who normally works with them will all be there. And the kids will partner and team with as many of our visitors who will work out with them
Mm-hmm.
and strut their stuff.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a confidence builder. I cannot
Yeah.
wait
Yeah.
to see these kids shine. There's no better thing we could do to help them shine than say, show them.
That's right.
Speaking, they'll be fine to speak after that
Mm-hmm.
because they will have had that moment to say, I just proved what I can do.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be such a big day. It's one of those days that will stick with them for the rest of their lives. They can tell their kids and their kids, guess what I did? Guess what promoted me to get to the position where I'm at today, or
Right.
pushed me along, and that's just, it's life changing, generational changing, which is tremendous. It's going to be a huge honor, huge success, and I thought it was interesting that Andy today, when we're talking about Lieutenant Governor, who is a football player. I think he played in college. I'm not sure. Sorry, Lieutenant Governor. That I don't know what college he played for, but pretty in shape dude, pretty big dude. And he's like, yeah, he's going to want to work out with the kids. I'm like, oh yeah, it's expected. And then he kind of laughed. He goes, do you think Eric will want to work out? I'm like, oh no, you're not keeping him out.
Can you imagine going home, being a teenager and going home and your mom say, hey honey, how was your day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just worked out with the owner of CrossFit, Eric
Yeah.
Rosen, and
Yeah.
like all these other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was hanging out with the Lieutenant Governor.
I hope they make this workout absolutely painful.
It's gotta beat everybody where they're at, Ian.
That's right. That's right.
CJ should chip in on this one.
Yeah.
That's what
That's what
I was
you're
going to
gonna
say.
Mhm.
Let them shine. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's
And so
gonna
then
be
after
awesome.
that, then we're gonna have an informal time
Mhm.
where all of our guests get to talk to the kids, to get their questions answered, or take interviews, or
Mhm.
just hang out.
Yep.
And again, those unscripted moments too will be life changing. Just like we learned this past weekend.
Mhm.
We knew when we took these 3 kids to the L1, there were going to be things they were going to pick up. We knew what the L1 consisted of
That's
because
right.
they had been through it.
Yeah.
But what moved them like nothing we could ever have planned
Mhm.
were the unscripted, unplanned conversations that they had with themselves. We tapped out,
Yeah.
and that's what we'll get to do.
Yeah, and we'll get to hear that all over again. It's kind of cool. So that's the structure. The reason they're coming for the entire day, they start at 1:30, is truly to understand the roots of the program, how it's functioning, why it's functioning so well, and then so each group we get 30 minutes to talk to and start the meeting and talk about Expanding Horizons. The state, they get 30 minutes, and there's really 3 topics they want to talk about. Okay, we love it. How do we duplicate it? How do we start the prison program? And then let's talk about funding and what that might look like, which is tremendous. Aaron Brill will be here from Redemption Road. He's going to take 30 minutes and talk about the prison program that's run in the state of Colorado. I'm super excited. I've talked with that guy a lot. He's on vacation right now, so I hope he's enjoying his vacation. I'm super excited to meet him again. I met him at the games. Super great guy. He's a police officer. Just really cool guy to talk to. So I'm excited to hear more about his program. I gave CrossFit 15 minutes
Home office
They're
gets
like,
15
yeah,
minutes.
well, you got 15 minutes. Can you
So
keep it?
the
Can you keep
Redemption
that?
Road
Mhm.
is doing the same thing in a prison. So
That's
they
right.
have CrossFits within the prison,
Mhm.
and the prisoners can apply for L1,
That's right.
and they can get the scholarship. And so when they come out of prison,
Mhm.
or they can leave classes,
They lead class.
and,
They end
and
up
then when they
leading
come
class.
out, they have employability.
Yeah.
So random,
Mhm.
I had a conversation tonight
Mhm.
with a girl who is currently incarcerated in prison.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
I told her, and she's like, "What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
They might be bringing it into the prison." She's like, "Right now we have Pilates and we have yoga. They might be CrossFit." And I'm like, "Well, they're going to start with probably Lima, so
Yeah.
it's going to take." Super excited.
Yeah,
Super excited.
it's going to be a game changer. Yeah, so Aaron can speak to the program way better than I can, of course, because it's his. But once the prison program kicks off, and they get that first L1 coach trained up, then they take over, and there's oversight of the program, and that's what partly Aaron does, and the prison systems do themselves. But it's ran by inmates.
Mhm.
The class, the program is ran purely by inmates. So they have L2s, they have L3s in Colorado now that are incarcerated, that are running a CrossFit box, just like we would, which is huge. It's so awesome. But the state of Colorado has recognized they've done it in 4 prisons. They're going to take it across the state. All across the state, all 19 will have it because they see it vital to the overall success of the inmates being released. And it's breaking racial boundaries. It's breaking gang boundaries like nothing they've ever seen before, that's super exciting. And again, it's what we see in our kids. It's what we see in our youth. And our goal is to divert them from ever going to that prison. So let's help the prisoners that are there, and let's help our youth not get there.
Right. And the goal for us, for home office standpoint, or with home office, is to make it just like with the kids. We eliminate the roadblocks, the objections, before they have to deal with them. We want to be able to do the same thing for any box that wants to implement this. Here's what works. Here's what doesn't work. Here's things to look for. Here are things to avoid. Here's, just make it simple. And it's not going to be as simple as handing it to them on paper, because you can't get everything across on paper.
That's right.
But everything that we can do to make it just naturally flow.
That's right. Yeah, and I see it as, I think you're absolutely right. I see it as, in some cases, and probably not all, but in some cases it's, you're paying a visit, and we're working directly one-on-one with the location and the county to say, okay, let's look at how this is going to run. Let's look at what are the surprises you need to be ready for, and the pushback, because the kids are going to push.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to push, because it's at that point it's not voluntary.
No.
It's not like a normal member coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to pay you. There's money to come in and work out. No. You're going to go, and they're not going to want to go until they get through that first workout, maybe, or first week, or, so yeah, it's exciting. That's it. I feel like we've kind of capitalized on the conversation, but we're right at an hour, maybe a little short of that. So do you have any parting questions? CJ, any thoughts, any questions to finish up on? Or
well, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall there, right? Like it's obviously a great program, and it obviously works. I think keeping track of the data was like very huge for the probate court to actually do that. For them to do that in Colorado, you can see like that it's actually working and doing very well there. But really, I'm just extremely grateful for Jen and Angie, Craig, everyone involved at the probate court for like starting this up, seeing the potential that we could offer. For you guys as gym owners to see this as well and be able to take this and really run with it and grow it to kind of what it is right now. Everyone involved, it's getting huge publicity, right? And everyone's seeing this is absolutely incredible. And then for CrossFit, just really actually wanting to make a difference, in kids' lives and the lives of people in prison. they're really showing a lot about the CrossFit community, coming out here and helping, like, even the underprivileged, you know.
Yeah.
So very grateful and extremely humbled.
Yeah, that's a great point. Mr. Rose is going to be here on the 14th. We've exchanged some emails. I've met him one time and talked to him in person, maybe 5 minutes. But one of the things that Gary Gaines, and I hope I'm okay sharing this, I'm going to anyways. If I'm not, what do you do? Ask for forgiveness, never permission. When I first met Gary Gaines at the games, and I was talking to him about the program, and I just wanted to say how thankful we were for the scholarship program. He says, I'm going to bring this to Eric's attention. And he goes, because I think I think he would see your passion and what you're doing is something that he would want to be a part of. And okay, that's kind of cool, because realistically, the affiliate is the one that's, getting the benefit out of it. They're getting the benefit because they're supporting the community. They're getting a benefit because maybe they can fill a time space during their day that's vacant right now and put a coach to work. And they're getting that funded. So they're, in a sense, there's 2 or 3 benefits the affiliate receives out of it, but Eric doesn't really.
Right.
Outside of the recognition that, hey, CrossFit is changing lives. And I didn't say that to Gary in those words, but I think he saw my, not hesitation, but my question about it. And he says, Matt, let me explain something to you. Because I literally had this conversation with Gary, with Eric this week. And it was this. He's unprompted. Eric said, listen, if I wake up tomorrow morning and CrossFit turns into a nonprofit, I will work harder than I'm working right now to make sure that CrossFit is known worldwide as changing people's lives and helping people live a healthier, happier lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So to me, that changes the game. Mm-hmm. Because it's not how much can I get paid for this? It's how can I affect the community that I'm surrounding? How can I change, even if it's just one person? How can I change their life? And that to me speaks volumes. So that's why I'm personally excited to.
Right. And we talked about that on the call. I think maybe it was Danielle who said, because the question was brought up, what is CrossFit home office looking to gain from this? And they said,
that's what
nothing.
I asked.
Yeah, nothing. CrossFit looks to build their affiliates and to affect the greater good.
Yeah.
And we say all the time, we're building the community to build the kingdom of God.
That's right.
And that's in 100% alignment with everything we do.
That's right.
And to know that we've got the backing of home office to go do that.
It's tremendous. Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah. So there you have it. So we went over a little bit. Ian, any parting notes?
I think going off of both what CJ and Debbie said, I'm just grateful to be a part of it and be able to help it in any way, whether it be through money wise, competitions or I really think the Always Rise we have written on that wall that you put on shirts for them a couple years ago, and it's just kind of been their mantra, is a really good sticking point for both here and in prisons as well. You can always rise from nothing to actually being something a lot of these kids are.
That's right.
Very good points and proven settlements of that.
Mm-hmm. No question about it. Yeah, it's important to keep that forefront. We're not giving a handout. Giving a handout to rise up out of the situation. That's important. Okay. Well, until next time.
Thanks for everything. Thanks for everyone getting this thing going. And birthday day, Debbie, you enjoy your night.
Yeah.
Craving more out.
One last time. CJ, how's the wife? Good? Everyone's good there?
Yeah, she's doing well. A lot of studying.
Yeah. I bet.
Much smarter than I'll ever be, I'll tell you that.
Wait to have Dr. Seibert.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. About to throw my whole family line for a loop. Talk about generational change.
All right. I know. Well, hey guys, we'll let you go. Thanks. We'll see you next time.